So, today we're going to talk about something that could completely change the way we learn. It's called biosynchronous pacing. The whole idea is pretty simple, but honestly, it's powerful. What if we just stopped learning by the clock and started learning at the speed of, well, you, at the speed of our own biology? I want you to think back for a second. You're in a classroom, maybe a work training. The person up front is just flying through the material, and you feel that little wave of panic start to build up, right? Your brain is just scrambling to keep up, but it feels like the train has already left the station. We've all been there, and it's just so frustrating. And then, of course, you've got the total opposite problem. The pace is painfully slow. You got the concept like 10 minutes ago, and now you're just sitting there, waiting. Your mind starts to wander, you find yourself looking at your phone, and boom, engagement is just gone. Well, what if I told you that feeling of being too slow or too fast, it wasn't your fault? Not at all. The real problem isn't your brain's ability to learn, it's that we've changed this whole amazing process to this one arbitrary, totally inflexible thing, the clock. And this really gets us to what you could call the tyranny of the clock. For, centuries, education has been built around these standardized time blocks. You know, the 45-minute class, the 1-hour lecture. It's this one-size-fits-all model that just assumes everybody learns at the exact same speed, which is just, it's obviously not true, right? But what if we could just toss that rigid schedule out the window and start listening to our bodies instead? Well, that's the whole idea behind this new way of thinking, biosynchronous pacing, or BSP. It's all about learning on what you might call brain time. Okay, so this slide really breaks down that massive shift. On the left, you've got the old way, standardized time. It's a straight, rigid line. It doesn't care how you're feeling or if you're keeping up. But on the right, you see biological time. It's this dynamic, flowing path that adapts, in real time, to what your body is actually telling it. The result? A way more personal and effective way to learn. So how does this actually work in the real world? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like having a personal trainer, but for your brain. You know how a good trainer knows exactly when to push you harder, when to tell you to ease up, and when to switch exercises to get the best results? BSP does that exact same thing, but for your mind. So you're probably wondering, how does it listen to your brain? Well, it uses wearable tech that's already out there, like a smartwatch. It's measuring key biometrics. For example, it tracks something called heart rate variability. Basically, when you're stressed, the pattern of your heartbeat gets less, well, varied. It's a huge sign of mental strain. It also measures your galvanic skin response, which is just a fancy way of saying tiny changes in sweat on your skin. And that's an amazing way to see how engaged or excited you are. All right, so let's play this out. Let's say you're trying to solve a really complex problem, and you just hit a wall. You start to feel that frustration, that stress building up. The system would pick up on that immediately. So, what does it do? Well, first, the system detects all those biological signs of stress, right? Like your cortisol level spiking. And bam, it instantly kicks into what's called scaffolding mode. Just like scaffolding on a building gives it support while it's being built, the system gives your brain temporary support. The content gets simpler, maybe it breaks the problem down into smaller pieces until your biometrics show that you're calm and you're ready to go again. Okay, but what about the other end of the spectrum? What happens when you're just cruising through the material, it's way too easy, and you start to get bored? A traditional system would just let you zone out. But a BSP system, it sees that drop in engagement right away. The moment the system sees your engagement dipping, it responds by introducing something called cognitive conflict. Now, that might sound a little intense, but it's actually a fantastic learning technique. It just means the system intentionally makes things a bit harder. It might throw a more challenging question at you, add a surprising twist, or even turn the lesson into a game. Anything to pull you back in and keep you in that perfect learning zone. Now, this whole idea isn't just some clever tech gimmick. Nope, it's actually grounded in decades of real psychological research. The whole system is built on a solid scientific foundation that's all about creating that perfect, personalized pacing for learning. And at the very heart of it is the Yerkes-Dodson law. But honestly, you can just think of it as the Goldilocks principle of performance. It's super simple. Our performance is at its absolute peak when our mental arousal is just right, not too high where we get anxious, and not too low where we get bored. And here is where the AI comes in. This whole balancing act, keeping you right in that Goldilocks zone, is automated by some really advanced reinforcement learning algorithms. Think of it like training a puppy. The algorithm tries different things, and when it finds something that boosts your engagement, that's the reward, it learns to do more of that. It's literally an AI coach, constantly adapting to keep you at your peak performance. So what's the big takeaway here? Why does this matter so much? Because when we sync up how we deliver information with our actual biology, we're not fighting our brains anymore. We are creating the most efficient, the most effective, and frankly, the most natural path to mastering anything. Albert Tan, the guy who developed this whole framework, he just nails it. He calls it the mathematically optimal path to mastery for any human brain. I mean, just think about that for a second. Not just a better path, the optimal path. And that really leaves us with one last huge question to think about. That language you've always wanted to learn, that complex new skill for your job. What could you achieve? What could you truly master if learning wasn't a constant struggle against the clock, but instead a perfect dance with your own biology?